Hey there, everyone. Have you ever run across life where situations come up, unexpected situations, and suddenly you find that you're completely derailed and your business is hurting and you know you've got to get back on track, but it's really hard? Today's guest is going to talk on this topic and more on the Resilient Faith Online Show. Welcome. I'm Marisa, Shadrick, host of the Resilient Faith Online Show. I'm an online marketing coach and certified copywriter. In this podcast, you'll find a different perspective to the external and internal challenges we face as online content creators. Join me for some inspiration and practical tips as we create positive change online. To connect with me in my private Facebook group, go to marisashadrick.com/community. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here today with a special guest. I actually met Blake, and I'm going to let him introduce himself in a second. I think I just reached out to him and kind of said, "Hey, I like what you're doing. Want to chat?" I think it was something like that. Hello,
I think it
Blake.
was, yeah.
Would you introduce yourself, please, and tell us your name and what you do, and we'll kind of elaborate on that story.
Yeah. So, my name is Blake Beus, and among all sorts of things, I essentially kind of help people and businesses connect the dots between the technology or the systems side of their business and, the practical side of getting things done out there. And I do that with, online coaching and consulting, as well as some products and services that I offer to people out there as well.
I love it. And literally, I did reach out to you and we did chat on the phone, I think it was.
Yeah.
Because I just liked what you were doing. And I think I saw a video of yours and you just seemed very approachable. And I just kind of reached out. Do you want to be my friend? And then we kind of connected again and then we connected again, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's
We
interesting.
keep bumping into each other. It's good.
I know. Bumping into each other online, but that's how it happens, right? It's all about building relationships and stuff. So
it really is.
I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. I know you are extremely knowledgeable in a lot of things. I mean, just from the content I've consumed, you know a lot about a lot of things. And so definitely you're smarter than me. But I know that you've gone through an incredible journey of I'm just kind of reset. And I wondered if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my business journey didn't have a great start, to be totally honest. I was CTO of an events company and really enjoyed it, but we ended up getting to a point where I got let go unexpectedly. And it wasn't because of performance. It was more because they were kind of going a different direction. And I don't really know, but I'd always been like one of the top performers in any job I'd ever had ever. And so it was pretty devastating to be unexpectedly let go. And that was at the very beginning of 2018. So I was still pretty hopeful. I started kind of hustling and seeing what else I could do out there. Applied for some jobs and things, but ended up kind of falling into doing a combination of freelance work, as well as creating some digital products, which is where you and I kind of bumped into one another. And then in 2019, I had my first digital product that really kind of took off. The very first month that I launched it and started running ads, I did just under $40,000 in sales in my first month, which was, awesome. Pretty incredible, incredible for me. I really enjoyed it. And then from there to for the next 6 months to the rest of the year, I did just a little bit over $300,000 in sales with that kind of first digital product that really took off.
Yeah, that kind of scratched an itch, didn't it?
Oh, it did. I was like, all right, I've got this. I've made it. I kind of cracked the code, you know. I had figured it out. I was running ads. My ads were coming back, you know, at 2 times or 3 times, kind of depending on the day in the ad of what I was spending. And it was literally, I was putting money into this machine and I was getting 2 or 3 times the money out. And it just felt like a, you know, cracking the code
Mhm.
of getting all this to work. And I had a small team. It was me, a VA, and a contractor to help with a handful of things. But then 2020 hit, and a lot of things kind of happened all at once that made everything way more complicated and stressful and frustrating. And I mean, yeah, it started to tie. Everything started to tank pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And we know 2020 was hard on many people.
yeah.
There was a lot of personal loss. There was a lot of business struggles going on. I thought, oh, I'm going to weather this, no problem. And after a while, month after month, it was like, oh, something's got to change here soon because
Yeah.
it was starting to hurt. It was starting
Yeah.
to really, we were feeling the effects of everything. So
Hmm.
some people made a lot of money during that season, but a lot of people struggled quite a bit. So
Yeah.
specifically, how did it affect your business?
Yeah. So the most kind of immediate thing that I started seeing that was an indicator is I actually got a bit of a bump in sales because my product was focused towards helping people start a side hustle and show up on social media and kind of build that presence. So a lot of people were getting sent home and they were thinking, okay, well, I'm going to spend a little bit of time, you know, building my own brand a little bit and kind of hedging my bets. I guess it would be maybe a good way to put it. So I saw a little bit of a bump in sale, and I was thinking, okay, this might pan out. But then 2 things happened that really just kind of threw me off guard. The first one was my refund rate went through the roof because I offered a 30-day refund. If you didn't like it, you could
Really?
refund. And so my refund rate went from about, I think I was measuring somewhere between 5 and 7% before to about 14%. Um, and then the second thing is Facebook ads as a cost started going up.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it was ads always kind of get more and more and more expensive. But just because everything got shaken up,
Mhm.
we started seeing a lot more people kind of hop online, try to run some ads, try to do this or that. And so the media buying experience started getting more chaotic and less predictable. Um, and and so between those 2 things, all of my margins went away, and it was just a struggle for the rest of the year to try to make that product hit. The tough part was is my business was still relatively young as far as the product based side of my business, and because things were going well, I'd kind of shut down the freelance side because things were going really good with this product. We only had the one product, and it wasn't really bulletproof yet. My business wasn't diverse enough to be bulletproof to kind of weather that storm because it
Mhm.
just kind of hit right at that perfect time. So there was a lot of struggles there, which led to other struggles with mental health, and you and I've chatted about this several times, mental health, and then the kind of fallout of 2020 and kind of beyond that.
Right. Right. Some key things you said there, the business was young. You
Mhm.
had to sort of reduce the amount of freelance work you were doing. So what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did not have any passive income yet. So you didn't really
Mm-mm.
have set up multiple streams of revenue, no
Right.
matter how small, because some people have like affiliates that they
Hmm.
make some money or books or whatever, but that was not established yet.
No.
So putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak,
Yeah.
ended up, bringing things to a halt. Is that kind of right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the reality was is I knew it was not really a great idea to put all my eggs in one basket, but I also knew I needed to kind of transition. So I was
Yeah.
looking at other products to launch. I was looking into some sort of subscription models and things, but I didn't have time. So
Yeah.
I kind of took a leap
Mhm.
of a
Right.
leap of faith at the wrong time, and said, okay, I'm going to dive into this and try to launch some new things really quick because I didn't have time to kind of do both because I was getting
Right.
super busy with both.
Right.
And the timing just wasn't quite right, which can totally happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's more common than not because there's only so much attention, especially if you do freelance work. I mean, it's
Hmm.
pretty consuming,
Yeah.
because you're providing a service. And so you've got clients and it leaves less room for some of the other things that can create passive income or
Right.
really leverage your time. So I think that's a
Yeah.
common tension that
Hmm.
many feel. And I'm transitioning more from the service based to more coaching. So I
Yeah.
totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not an easy not an easy play.
No, it's not. And most people kind of in this space, probably most of the people that listen to you and your podcast and work with you kind of have to have this transition phase. They're probably an expert in whatever they do. And then they start offering coaching, consulting, or some products centered around that. But there's a breaking point where you kind of don't have time to do both all the time. And so one has you got to figure that out. And I think had 2020 not happened the way it would have, I think I could have weathered some of those ups and downs, having all my eggs in one basket for a little bit and then worked through it. But who knows? I don't know. Maybe it was just the wrong time all the way around.
So how did you during that time? I mean, what was the hardest part overall? Because I know you're a married man, you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a
Yep.
wife. How many kids
Yeah.
do you have?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids. And what's
Yeah.
their age?
So my oldest is 16, 16-year-old boy. And then I have twin 13-year-old girls. And then I have a 10-year-old girl.
Okay. So as a man, your husband, a father, you're doing this, 2020 hits, all. What was the hardest thing during that season? The one
Yeah.
thing that really kind of like, ow, that was like salt on wounds.
Honestly, it was the combination of all the things hitting very close together.
Yeah.
Because we had this business aspect of things. My wife was in school full time and wasn't working and wasn't earning money, so it was all on me, and that was fine. We'd agreed to that, and we were all on board, and everything was working. And then my revenue started to fluctuate, and then my kids got sent home to do homeschool the rest of the
Yeah.
time. I was working out of my home office. So 4 kids coming home, they're supposed to be getting on Zoom calls all day. My wife was either doing Zoom calls for her classes or going to her classes still because there was a little bit of a phase where that was happening. And so there was just a lot of pressure in the house. And then I think a lot of people kind of forget the mindset we were all in back then of we didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on and how the pandemic or the economy and everything was going to pan out. There's just so many unknowns, which caused kind of additional stress and anxiety and for loved ones and family members and things along those lines. There was just a lot of unknowns. So all of that kind of happened at the same time. And then in the middle of the summer, my older brother was diagnosed with cancer. And that was just another big, heavy weight.
Oh, yeah.
And so all of that kind of piled all together all at once. So I couldn't pinpoint what, I mean,
Yeah.
my brother's cancer diagnosis was like the biggest thing, but everything was kind of going downhill till that point. And that was like this huge, overwhelming,
Right.
thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. And sometimes that happens. It comes like wave after wave hitting you. And we're just being real. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
life. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when we're entrepreneurs, and I can't even imagine what it's like for a man with I mean, my husband, he works as well. So if
Mm-hmm.
something happens, we have another income and he's very established in what he does. But
Yeah.
for a man, I think it's just a huge amount of responsibility for your family and your wife. you want to take care of them. And I know my husband, he's kind of the old fashioned kind of guy, want to take care of all his girls because he's got my daughter, my granddaughter, and me. And he's like always trying to take care of the girls, so, but that had to be huge. So as you were in that, how did you, I mean, it almost sounds like a very, very dark season. How did you manage to come out of that?
Yeah. Well, honestly, it was a slow process. So part of it was therapy. I ended up signing up with a therapist, an online therapist. And I've been a fan of therapy for a long time. I've gone multiple times over the years, and I feel it's important, if you do go to therapy, to not use it as your last resort, but to use it kind of earlier on in the process. And then the second thing, just a little pro tip for everybody, is there's lots of therapists out there, and you might not resonate with one, and that's okay. Find one that you resonate, because that's and that's the thing that's going to be the biggest indicator if that's going to help. But basically, just having someone I could chat with that could give me solid feedback, tips, whatever, but also was outside of this kind of this web that I was kind of stuck in, was helpful. So that was the first thing that I did. The second thing is my wife and I have a great relationship. We've always talked through things, and so she was there to for me to lean on, and was incredibly helpful to have a trusted partner that I could chat with on that. So those two things were quite helpful. And then what I made the hard decision, because it felt like I was moving backwards, but I made the hard decision to dive back into freelance work again, which was just felt like I was taking a huge step backwards. But it helped me kind of gain that confidence and start building some momentum towards a resolution.
Right.
So those were kind of the things that started the long process of getting out of that. And all of this was happening. I mean, it felt like it was moving so slow. It felt like everything was just happening so fast, as far as how fast things went downhill, and then digging out felt like it was moving super slow. But yeah, I think that's maybe just my interpretation of how things went,
Yeah. Because all of this, it's hard to believe, 2 years ago, that's not really a long amount of time, but in some cases it feels very, very long. It feels longer than 2 years. So yeah,
It
for
does.
sure. So
Yeah.
now you're working on some new things. You want to
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of that kind of discovery process thing, and as part of diving back into freelance, number one, I launched a subscription model service. I felt like one of the things that I was really missing with the digital product was that it was very brittle. Meaning, my product, the product I first launched, was a super simple product. It was a content planner for a full year or 2 years if you wanted to upgrade to that. And it gave you ideas and holidays and some editable graphics, just some high level but simple to use tools for a one-time price, which was fantastic. But the problem was I had to keep chasing new customers, right? And the thing I didn't know at the time with that was, when you start running ads, Facebook, Google, wherever you're running those ads, they want to give you the best people up front. But then as you kind of go through that audience, you have to pay a little more to find new pockets of people that are interested in what you have to sell. And those people tend to cost a little bit more money. So I was thinking I wanted something that was long-term. The second reason I wanted some sort of monthly subscription model was I felt like I wasn't helping as much as I could with these people. They would buy my product and they would run with it, but really kind of growing your presence, your audience online, building out your systems is more custom for you. And it's something that you need help with over time. It's not something that you need this one-time purchase and that solves all your problems.
Right.
It's more, I need someone I can go to. I can Google a lot. I can watch YouTube videos a lot, but sometimes I just need to ask a very specific question and I need to get a very specific answer. And there's not really good info out there on that specific use case. And that's where I realized I kind of really shined with my expertise and everything. So I launched a subscription service in the same kind of realm, but I also dove back in harder on the freelance thing. And I was busy and still busy. But I decided to hang on to the freelance thing for much, much, much longer, and continue to use that to fund, other aspects of my business, and maybe start delegating in the product side of the business and the subscription side earlier, while I held onto the freelance a little bit longer. So I had a little bit more robust, less brittle business model.
Yeah. Subscription model is awesome. And so many, I mean, it's everywhere when you think about it. I mean, look at when you watch TV now, everything's subscription, right?
Yeah.
Amazon subscription, that button, that one-click purchase, that's a killer
It's
on
dangerous.
Amazon. That's dangerous.
It's really dangerous. Yeah.
Everything is subscription. Even physicians now, they have programs where it's a subscription to be able to just, have their presence in your life. Everything is going to subscription model. And, if we can think through something that would provide value in the long run, it may not sound like a lot of money when you have a subscription model, because typically it's less money every month, but in the long run, the idea is having a lot of people, right? And being able to, like you said, sounds like you wanted to be able to be available to serve them a little better. And this allows that. So subscription model is awesome. And about having that passive income, right? You're just creating that content, and then you can have people joining for the subscription. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm curious, I want to know more about that. But when it comes to overall, everything that you went through, are there like some key takeaways life lessons, something that like you would pass on to one of your kids, or something that you learned about yourself? Maybe you learned you're more resilient than you thought. I mean, is there something that kind of surfaced, that a nugget about yourself or about life that you would pass on to someone?
Yeah. I actually, I think about this. I think about this a lot. I actually have kind of three little things that I tend to tell people a lot when this comes up, because it comes up a lot. The first thing is, it's okay to, a lot of people focus on goals. Goals are something that I don't know. I struggle getting goals done. Probably because, just this year I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I was like, that makes a whole lot of sense given a lot of my life. So no wonder I struggle with goals. But before I even kind of figured out the ADHD thing and started working with my doctor on that, I didn't like goals, and I always liked focusing on a direction and a velocity, because I felt like goals sometimes locked us into something and didn't give us enough flexibility to pivot and make that change. And when you're starting a business, you have to pivot 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times sometimes before you land at the place where it can really get you where you want to go and get your customers, clients, whoever, where you want to go. Sometimes those pivots are, who am I serving? Sometimes those pivots are moving from a single purchase product to a subscription model. Sometimes it's all sorts of things. So I like to focus on a velocity and a direction, because a lot of the decisions are made as you're moving towards something.
Yes.
But I don't have to hit that finish line, because I can pivot at any point in time. But as long as I'm moving towards that something, I feel like I'm going to figure out what I need to do. Right.
Wow. That's awesome. That's wisdom. That's wisdom, my friends. I mean, he's speaking the truth. Because it has to be very pliable, not rigid, because it is a matter of tweaking and adjusting all the time. So this is like pure wisdom here. But what happens is people think they're a big fat failure, and then they get all, unraveled. but
Right.
that's true. And it
Right.
is. And the market changes
Hmm.
too. And so once you think you've got it dialed in, the market changes and then you got to tweak again. But it's so
Right.
true. What you're
Yeah.
saying is so true.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, other than people feeling like failure because they didn't hit their goal, the other problem is when someone has a perfectionist personality, they never get started because they spend so much time trying to figure out exactly what their goals need to be and how to get there.
Mhm.
Whereas if you have a velocity and a direction, you can just get started now. And the perfectionism can kind of happen in little bits and pieces as you go down the path.
Yeah, very good. And
Yeah.
one of the things that's good for perfectionism is start doing a whole bunch of stuff and you'll be so tired you won't be so perfect anymore. You'll just say, you know what? Ship it. It's ready to go.
Ship it. It's ready to
I
go.
know. I speak from experience. I used to be a lot of
Mhm.
perfectionist, but after a while, you want excellence, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. It's just it's you can't be perfect. Nobody's perfect. And I
Hmm.
think it's more of a mindset thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of mine came from insecurities, right? I just
Hmm.
wanted to appear a certain way.
Yep.
And so it was
Yep.
more about that. And once you get freed up with that, then okay, this is excellent enough. This is okay. It's maybe not perfect. Maybe I could have used a better tool or I could have used a
Hmm.
graphic designer, but it's okay. It's good.
Right.
And so very true what you're saying.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And to move on to my second thing is about like 99% of people feel imposter syndrome. But most of us think that other people don't, if that makes sense, right? We think we're the 1% that feels imposter syndrome, but really it's 99% of people. I mean, so many people that I chat with, friends that I have that are, successful in their areas of life, they all feel it from time to time. It happens to all of us, and it's an okay feeling to have, and we can kind of accept that feeling and do it even though we feel like an imposter.
Mhm.
I think the biggest lesson for me with that is my first product was to help people grow on social media. And when I launched it, I only had about 100 followers on social media. And so I felt weird doing that, even though I had done this stuff in the corporate world. I had done marketing technology stuff. I had grown things, but my own brand that I was launching this under didn't have that.
Mhm.
And I ended up doing, just over $300,000 in sales before 2020 hit and
Mhm.
everything and the game changed.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
That's so
yeah.
good. That's so good for people because you're right. Everybody struggles. I had Paul Klein on not that long ago in a podcast. He's one of the co-founders of Visible TV. It's a new program, kind of like Netflix. He said the same thing. He said,
Mhm.
right down to the wire, he was going, oh man, what was I thinking? Did I do the right thing? Is this like going to work? It's like all these ideas, they're thinking, is it just an idea? Is it really something that public will embrace? And I think
Right.
everybody does struggle with it. And it
Yep.
is entrepreneurship is sometimes it feels risky, but
Hmm.
again, like you said, you pivot,
Hmm.
you don't get so rigid that if you see something that's not going quite right, you can adjust it
Hmm.
and keep
Yep.
adjusting it. So yeah, no, good word on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the third thing I tell people when this comes up is trust yourself. I think in this space, it's so easy to listen to all the podcasts and read all the articles and watch all the YouTube videos. And when you sit down to work on something or to create that product or to maybe put that email out there, to spend the next hour researching what you should do or what headline you should have on this or that. And that's kind of based in perfectionism, but it's also based in that there's so many ways to do it out there. And so we get stuck in this analysis paralysis phase where we're frozen because there's so many options. And so we feel like we're making progress by researching or doing all of, listening to a podcast or watching the videos and really sit down and trust yourself and get a rough draft out there first.
Yeah.
Then maybe do a little bit of research and tweak it and hone it. And I know this sounds a little counterintuitive because my subscription is having people come to me and I share with them my knowledge and everything like this. And I too have a podcast that I want people to listen to. But
Mhm.
when it comes to like getting things done, put a little faith in yourself
Yeah.
and just get a rough draft out there. No one else has to see it yet. but get a rough draft out there. Trust yourself. You've already put time and energy into learning a lot of this stuff. And you've already listened to the podcast. Just dig deep, put a rough draft out there, whatever it is, and then hone and tweak it based on maybe some of your research from that point in time.
Yeah, no, so true. I know exactly what you're saying. I had this on another of my podcasts. Don't second guess yourself. It's
Yeah.
one of those
Yep.
distractions
Mm-hmm.
because, people think, well, maybe if and personal development, we're not saying that, obviously we're not saying don't listen to a podcast because you're listening to this podcast, but we're saying there is part of what you do that's personal development, but
Yep.
you don't use that as an excuse to not do the income producing work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like you can't just do admin work. You have
Right.
to do income producing work, and then you need to do other type of work. And,
Mm-hmm.
growing communities and relationships is important too. You
Yeah.
could be on a mastermind or whatever it might be, and that's important too. But I think what you're saying is that we shouldn't use it as an excuse to avoid
Right.
putting something out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
So,
that
yeah.
does happen. Yeah. And
so those are
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so those are like my 3 pieces of advice when this comes up that I talk with, but I kind of cut you off. What'd you say there?
No, I was just going to say that some of the things that why we put off is that we use those excuses like technology.
Yeah,
I need to learn
absolutely.
more about technology. I need to learn more
Right.
about this tool. And,
Mhm.
I love technology. I feel like I grew up with technology
Yeah,
from
me too.
back in the day when the IBMs came out and my laptop was 50 pounds. I thought it was amazing. The little green cursor, I'm dating
Uh-huh.
myself, but for sure. But sometimes people do spend too much time worrying about the technology and not putting something out there. So
Right.
that's really, really valuable. I think it's a
Yep.
real problem for many people. So
Yeah.
again, we teased a little bit about the membership. I would love for you to kind of expand a little bit on that so we can end on that, on your new project, your membership, and
Sure.
how people could join and what they
Yeah.
can find. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So the membership is called SM3, and I'm kind of a math nerd. So it's like SM and then a little 3 in the superscript, so it looks like an exponent. But it stands for Social Media Moneymakers. Basically, one of the things I ran into with my product to help people post was a lot of people were posting, but then they couldn't convert those followers and things into clients and things along those lines. So the membership focuses on making it really easy for you to post content out there. We have editable captions and that you can use even for emails. You can use them for your social media posts. They're very versatile, but you don't have to stare at a blank screen. You can pick a caption you like, run with it, fill in the blanks, maybe tweak some things, but that gets your creative juices going. We have editable graphics that are now in Canva. With my other product that was a one-time purchase, they were in Google Slides. Very easy. I wanted something easy, but these are Canva images created by me and my team and some professional designers. So they look significantly better than my first. But they come out every month. We have a new set of these each month, but also it includes trainings on what's happening right now in social media, trainings on strategies to take followers and turn them into clients or customers, and just basically that kind of stuff. If anybody has a tech question, because that's my core background, because a lot of people get hung up on the tech questions of how do I integrate this or that or whatever, I'm there to answer. I have some team members there that are knowledgeable, and so basically it's a place for you to get all the components, all the puzzle pieces you need to put together a strategy that works for you, as well as the expertise you need for your unique situation. So when a question comes up, you can get the answer for your use case. And frankly, it's a way better value than my consulting hours, what I do freelance on the side. If people hop on with that, because I love the membership model, the subscription model, in that I can help people over time and my business can pivot as needed and I can address the needs of people in real time. And so I put a lot of effort into this outside of, the freelance and consulting stuff that I'm doing. And it's, a great value for that. And you have community members that can help answer your questions as well. So it's a good place to be.
I think it meets a need because you ask people, what's something that you like doing, but you shouldn't be doing, or what's something you don't like doing and you do. And people always say social media. So
Yep.
this is going to take the sting out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
it's a
we even
great
have people
membership.
in the group that use the components and everything, and they just hand them off to their virtual assistant.
Mm,
And we even have a project management board each month that comes out that you can make a copy of for yourself, that has the captions and everything in there, and you can have a VA or copywriter or social media administrator just combine the graphic they want after they've edited it and the caption and put it in a column for you to review, and you can review, sign off on it, and then they can go ahead and post it for you. So that's another area people struggle with, is how do I actually start outsourcing and handing off some of these things? Well, I've been doing that for years and years and years in so many areas of business and corporate and everything. So to me, it's a no-brainer. But to a lot of people, they have a hard time just wrapping their head around that step of the process.
right.
Uh, and people can make it really easy with how this is as well.
This is so helpful. So
Yeah.
I'm a member. So how do people join? Where would they go?
Yeah. So you can just go to blakebeus.com/SM3, and that will take you to it. And my last name, a lot of people struggle with the last name. It's Beus instead of Bues, but Beus, and you'll be able to find it right there. And there's a trial if you want to sign up for a $1 trial offer right now. You can sign up and check it out. Canceling, I'm super straightforward. I signed up for a different marketer's monthly subscription once, and it took me 6 months to cancel. And I promised myself when I did my model, I would make it as easy as possible for people to cancel and not make them jump through all of these different hoops, because it feels unethical to me. And so you can cancel right from inside the membership. You don't have to send an email and wait for a response back. None of that stuff. You just, if it's not for you, you just hop into the admin panel, you go ahead and cancel. So it's really a super easy way to try it out and see if it's going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome. And $1. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys listening to this, $1. You can
Yeah.
buy this for $1. So you can go in there and poke around, look at everything, and I know you'll find lots of value, and it'll simplify. That's what I love. Removing complexity, simplifying a process, and
Yep.
reducing the time that it
Yeah.
takes to do this stuff. So you've got
Yep.
all those components in there. I mean, it's my copywriting brain going there. You have all these components going there. So yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Blake, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And
Well, thanks for having me.
program is going to be fantastic because it does meet a need. Social media is one of those pain points for a lot of people.
Oh,
and you're providing a lot of value with that membership. So thank you so much for offering that to all of us who struggle with social media. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No
Any
problem. Thanks
last
so much for having
words?
me.
Any last words from you?
Just get out there and get busy doing something, right? Don't be frozen, but take some action. You tend to figure out your best ideas while moving forward. So start moving forward.
So true. All right, everybody. I'll have all of the links in the show notes. And I know this is very valuable for you. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.